Now then, alright, so I want a proper roof rack for my car, full length, back to front, okay? Used to be able to get a proper roof rack made by somebody, I don't know. The few and far between these days in good condition, and they're a few £100 when you want to get them. I don't want to pay that. Very much a tight Yorkshireman. What I have got is loads of this stuff, extrusion, right? You've probably seen this before already. At work it will get in binned, ask permission from director, and they give me permission to take it. So what I'm thinking of doing is using the extrusion to go from back to front of it. Obviously across, create like a box frame. And then with this stuff, because of the kind of thing it is, it's modular, so obviously you just put some brackets in, you can bolt what you want to it, slide them across, whatever. So it gives me a bit of room to grow as well. You know, for easy modding, it's nice and secure. It's aluminium so it won't rust. But I've had an idea. I've got loads of these wheels that came with the extrusion, and I can't do it with them, they're just fixed wheels. So my idea were, take the wheel off, stick the extrusion in, put it on the roof, bolt it through, and it's lifted it. Something like that. Now this is what it'll look like roughly. So as you can see, it's a rough idea. This is what it'll look like on the roof. That'll be bolted through. I'll bolt that through there. This will be just the actual box frame that's going around it, and I'll go along and I'll have the original foam washer, foam like washer lights type seal underneath there. But this is going to go further up to about here, so I'll get like a full length roof rack.
First thing I do is obviously I set the aluminium up onto the miter saw, make sure I secure it in place, and I'm sliding up the blade to the marker
Safety first.
done, ensuring that I'm wearing safety goggles, and away you go. Use it at your own risk if you can do this method. If you're going to do it, just make sure it's got carbide tips and you take it steady and you let the blade do the work.
So I want the bar roughly to sit about there. And ironically, when I put these up, they've got tape on that we use at work, marked out for some reason or another. And with the length and how far I want it to be, that's where I want it to go, just in front of the guttering bit here. So it's already pre-marked out for me. It's pretty good. So I'm just going to cut off the front of that, because that'll do me, and then measure what length is, so I can do the other three. So that's just cut to 192. So, 3 more cuts to 192 down, that's all I need to do. Okay, just give you guys some insight as to what I'm using here. I'm using a woodworking blade for this miter saw. The difference is though, it's got like carbide teeth, and it does cut through aluminium quite well, because obviously you need to just run it at high speed. I think it's a Sexton, I think. It's not one of those metal evolution ones. You can just get a normal one, as long as it's, like I said, got these carbide teeth on it, which I'm struggling to focus on, like you see there, front ends. And it does cut through it very well, but obviously you just need to be careful. Try and clamp it down if you can. Take it steady, don't put too much pressure on it, let the blade do the cutting. And you should be okay. Obviously, I don't endorse it, this is just how I'm doing it. If you can get it cut properly, get it cut properly. Do not use grinders, because they are a grinding disc. They get clogged up and they'll snap and break and come flying at you. You need to cut aluminium, you can't use grinding discs, you need a blade. Alright, you can only use grinding discs on stuff like steel and iron and stuff like that. So I've just cut all the legs, sorry, not the legs, you know, like the cross beams for it. Drill the holes, then I'll need the other side of these to connect them using the brackets I've got. And then once I've done that, I can create the base, the floor frame, and then away we go. So what I've got, and I'll show you, I've got a load like that, already pre-done, look, already pre-drilled at the factory. So I'm going to use them, slide them in with these brackets, so you actually just put them in, turn them, do the Allen key up, and away you go. And then also another one, the cross beam bar up is sat across, just for reference, across like that. And it should be big enough. Drill 2 holes to get the brackets up, just to get the initial frame up, and I can see if I can get it on the car. It's turned out to be a lovely day. back to it. Right, so that's all the pieces cut. Decided I'm just gonna have a quick tidy up now and then start off with drilling 2 of those holes, these here, using this jig. You bolt that on, and then obviously these are guide holes for it. So I'm going to do that now. Put the basic frame together, and then put the frame on and just test fit it.
Okay, so what I'm just going to be doing here is I'm going to be drilling the holes that I'm going to be needing to put the brackets in, using a 17mm drill bit that's in the wide drill, and I'm just placing the jig up to the edge, using a piece of extrusion as like a plate just to make it square, nip it up really tight, and away you go. And the technique I found is best to use this because it uses intermittent cutting, is to just like you peck at it, basically just lift the drill up and down. And you know that tends to be the best one. But like I said, it's intermittent cutting, so it has got a lot of wear on the drill bit, and you end up ruining your drill bit pretty quick. Make sure to wear hearing protection if you do this. It is a very loud job. It's not nice. And then if you do it right, you're left with a nice clean hole, ready to be used to, obviously affix it to whatever you need to.
I've shifted the Land Rover foot drive so I can lay the frame out virtually flat here, and I'm toying with the idea. I've got these plastic composite boards as well, and I'm toying with the idea we're just chucking that on top of it, in between the struts and everything on top of the roof rack. Obviously get a nice flat base, because I've not got any wire rack or anything like that, and because it's plastic composite it ain't going to rot, like the roof rack's not going to rot, so there you go. Anyway, I'll get that sorted. Alright, it starts raining a little bit, so just jumping forward a bit, I've test fitted this because I was getting really angry with what I'd done. So I'd done my measurements in between here and here, and I cut everything and I cocked up my measurements, so I ended up having to create a bracket, because what I wanted to do was drill straight through this centre into that channel where the bolts go. I can't do that now, so I've had to create a bracket, but I'm just going to try and turn this round, see if I can flip it around that way, see if they'll still fit and I'll still be able to drill through, and using the uni strut I can still bolt it to it, but this way. So that's what that looks like when it sits on it. It's not quite equal, and what I've got to do is put this like bolt through, obviously get a bigger bolt through. I'm hoping it sits and I can just connect it and wedge. I've got that side to do, so once I've done that side I'll rejig it and have a look. Alright, so that's both of them done. Let's see how square she sits. If she sits square at all. Yeah, wishful thinking. Doesn't sit square at all, look. Get one side in, other side's out, just because my measurements are off. Looks like I'll have to go back to the other way, but at least I know now that that ain't going to work. Another way will. Right then, it's now time for the beast. And what we're going to do is get the cut down to the right size. So I've been out and I marked out, like, across which side I want to cut off, roughly where I need to cut across to, and roughly where the hole needs to be to bolt it onto the thingy. And obviously I've bent it slightly. So what I'm going to do is going to cut all that. So looking at the position of the other one, I've marked up where these need to be. I'm going to drill that hole now. So there it is so far. It looks fairly squared and straight, I might say. Obviously a bit of a bodge, but it'll do for now until I get some proper stuff made. But it's come out fairly level. I'm impressed. And it's absolutely solid. I've got the missus holding it for me, just to show you how solid this is. That, no matter how much stuff I put on it, it's going nowhere. Lovely. Okay, so next step is I'm going to be finishing the bottom frame with the bars that I've cut. Got everything together that I need. Once we've done that, I'll do the top frame. I'll braid everything. Well, that is to say, get the key with a sander. Prep it ready for paint. Then I go off to the little bars that are going to be the like steps, the risers between the two pieces. I'm going to obviously not call them back. This is going to be a bit of a time lapse. Try and keep it short, obviously, but it's going to be a long process. Once I've done that, get it up. I'll pack stuff I don't need anymore, hang it on the table, and then I'll get the Amorite out and get good paint. If you don't want to spend any money, what works really well to save the knees No cushion.
So this is the long and arduous task of putting it all together. To put the cross beams in, I'm trying to use the plastic hammers to encourage them to fit into the holes I've drilled, because they are not the best. Obviously, I'm not in a machine shop, so I can't do them perfectly. So they just need a bit of encouragement. So to place them where roughly I want them to be, get it right. I'm going to use a screwdriver as well, just to untwist them, because when you put them in inside the T-slots, they'll twist around, and so I'm trying to use a screwdriver in a minute just to get them in the right position before I can actually do the bolt up. That's it basically. So right here, I'm just demonstrating how strong these fixings are that holds the aluminium together. I weigh 120 kilos, that's 19 stone. I don't know, that's like 200 and something pounds for you Americans. Yeah, so they are very strong.
Okay, so that's done. I'm just going to give a key. I'm just using P80 just to get a good key. It don't matter about going fine or anything like that. As I say, the goal is just to get a key so the hammerite sticks well to it. And it's one of them, it will need to, because it's aluminium, aluminium's notoriously hard to paint, it's going to need topping up. Because I'm only using black hammerite, it's easy to get off the shelf, it's not relatively expensive, and as and when it wears and chips whatever, I just get some hammerite on a paintbrush and just touch it up. It makes no difference. Right, look at all that there.
So upon doing this, as I've learned, this is a long and arduous task, very, very, very boring. I did the top bracket, which you see me sanding now. The bottom part of the roof rack, I did as well. I just didn't bother to show you guys that because I'm sure you don't want to see all this sanding. But basically, what I learned after the fact is, hammerite doesn't apply straight to aluminium very well, as you'll soon see.
Right then, bloody rain. But I was about to assemble this. I've got all gear I need. Start assembling it and painting it after. And rain's started. It's just spitting. But no matter, look, I'll get into mist of painting and then it'll just absolutely downpour. So I've improvised, leftover extrusion, tarp, and I've just created myself like a little painting booth, as it were. I'm just going to show you what I'm doing with the roof 908 gutters are, which obviously I've left some exposed. I've got some wicks, not advertising for them, but it's just what I use. Flexible roof and gutter sealing, and works well. It comes like a rubber, and once it's cured, it's like a rubber. So I'm going to bang that in all gutters on roof at car, just to seal them up to try and stop any rain from getting in, any water getting in. Just in case you guys want to know, I'm going to struggle to film because all my tripods have either got missing or are broken. So I'm doing a lot of things, as you can tell, by handheld or by selfie stick. So you know, it's not the best. I know, apologies. So I'm going to crack on with this. I'm going to try and get some footage for you, and be doing one, so you know what you see what I'm doing. All right.
So what I'm doing, I'm using the roof gutter rubber sealant stuff, and I'm just absolutely packing it into there as much as I possibly can. Trying to get into every nook and cranny, really force it in there. So any rain or anything like that shouldn't be too bad for regards water, because the roof rack's going to be on top of there, so that'll prevent some of the rain getting to it. But obviously there's still a chance of water getting there, so just packing it through as much as I can. Try and make sure that no water can get into it, because there's only one bolt being used on there, unfortunately, until I can get some better brackets made. But this stuff, it sets fairly firm, like it sets once it's cured like rubber. It is quite good stuff, and that's just the end result. Not the neatest job, I know. I am a DIYer. So I've assembled the uprights for the roof rack. The top crossbar, the long piece, that's already on there now. And I'm just marking up for where the composite boards, where I need to cut for the upright parts, for it to slide in, what have you. Marking those up, I'll cut those out and then obviously fit it down. As I discovered in hindsight, what would have been better doing is putting the composite board on the floor and turning the roof rack upside down and marking around them that way. That would have been far more accurate than the way you've just seen me do it.
Alright, so I'm working late into night. At night, thankfully about an hour and a half ago, I've done everything I needed to do regards power tools. So I've got the board down, got it riveted down in every spot, and I've got all the sides on now. Rigged up a little light just so I can see the whole thing in its glory. I'm going to get a few coat of hammerite on it just so it can be setting overnight, and that'll be it. That'll be me for today.
So I'm putting a coat of hammerite on, and I've learned the hard way. You can't just paint it straight onto aluminium. You need to use a thing called etch primer first, and you're always better off spray painting it rather than brushing it on. In the end, it looks alright. It's had 3 coats on it. Obviously, I can get some more hammerite and just touch it up, and the principle's still the same. If it gets knocked, chipped, and damaged, whatever, get some hammerite and just paint it straight on, and that's it. It's done. It makes no difference, obviously, using hammerite. It's not going to protect the aluminium. But at the end of the day, that's the paint I had at the time, and so far this build has cost me absolutely nothing apart from a leftover tin of hammerite. So yeah.
Okay, so that's it painted. I've had to stop because I've run out of hammerite. But yeah, overall it's looking alright. I think it looks DIY, it looks handmade, which is the point of this. I don't want it to look professional, I don't care that it looks DIY. I've enjoyed doing it, and I'll enjoy the look of it when it's on, because I've done it. Do you know what I mean? It's one of them projects, when you do it yourself, you enjoy it. I don't know how long this video is. If it's a long one, apologies. Might do a cut down version, and maybe just time lapsing it or something. I don't know. Anyway, just waiting for this to go off, and then I'll bang it on roof.
To get the brackets on, I've had to use a hole saw just to open up the composite board, which I'm going to glue back in place with some epoxy. Also, I put plenty of Loctite on the bolts. I'm going to put the brackets on, fasten them up nice and tight, and everything's absolutely solid. It's going nowhere. There you go. And we're done. I think you'll agree it turned out really well. A friend of mine recently gave us some spotlights which upgraded from halogen bulbs to LED, which are super bright, which look really smart on the vehicle now. I know if you like that video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Bye for now.